It was the 15th June 1980. It was a day like all others. And as usual, I didn't want to stay at home with my sister. So I was being a bit difficult, and I went out with my parents who were working in the fields. And the country, at my age, represented freedom and also the possibility of escaping control. That day, I knew that on the other side of the street, on my father's three-wheeler, there was a bucket and spade I wanted to play with. I was standing by my brother. I wanted to play, and I ran off, and I instinctively crossed the street, and a speeding car hit me. I was only 3.5. Years later, my brother said that that day he had seen a ball rolling in the air. Luckily, I have no memory about that accident. And this is my first thank you to God, because what I cannot do is something that I do not want. And I don't want to know it because I don't want to go into a greater evil. I like writing. I have a brain. I like singing. And I can sing. I have my voice. My story was a story of tragedy, I know this, but now I feel reborn, and I traveled looking for Sonia. And the beginning of this journey was not easy, because at first I wondered, what was a mistake? Why did it happen to me? How can I put it right? I certainly cannot get better. I know this far too well. I cannot replace my legs. I am perfectly aware. I am resigned. But my mind won't take it. I would love to walk. I wanted a rebirth, but how? In my home, it was impossible, because I was like a prisoner. I felt guilty. I was absent. I was in the dark. I was alone. And my home was like my prison. And I thought I was protected by all dangers. I needed help. But who could I go to? Because my family didn't listen to me. As time went by, I started wondering, well, maybe the fault is only mine, and why could all the others go out, go to the beach, go to the cinema, go to the park? Why not me? Why was I feeling so lonesome? I wanted a definitive improvement. I wanted something more. I wanted to live. And I managed. I succeeded. I went to school. I loved studying. I would have liked to go to university, but nobody could take me to university. So I took a driving license, and I tried to look for a job, and I found it. But in April 2008, I took an even greater step, because for the very first time, I left my home. I left my prison. And I went to a community for mentally disabled. Unfortunately, after 1 month, with no regret, I realized that it was incompatible. I felt different amongst different people. I felt truly incompatible with those young people. And unfortunately, I was confused. I was angry. And TSO, an assisted hospital treatment, was required, so I could no longer go back to my community. I was broken. I had no port to go to. And the only place I could go to and go back to was my home, my prison. I cried, and one afternoon I called the parish, Father Antonio. My name is Sonia. Without going into the details, he said, I know you. I asked for his help, and after a few hours, Don Antonio had arrived, and it took him very little to understand how I was living. I was living in the dark. I wanted to lose the cognition with the internal space, and Don Antonio gave me a gift, what I needed the most, communicate with the others. And soon the other people came along, Sabrina and Valentina, two 40-year-old mothers, Rosalba, a 50-year-old widow, and Sylvia, a 25-year-old newly married woman. But that was not enough. I didn't want to be simply a convict that one visited. I wanted something more. I needed my vital space. So I started writing words of help, and the disabled organization said no. I simply wanted to know what I could do, and the answer was look for a commitment. And I joined singing classes, and at the same time, through my friend Sabrina, I started creating handmade jewelry, and I really fought a war hardened by so much strong willpower. And on the 17th of March 2011, miraculously, I won. And I went into a one-roomed flat next to my old community for disabled. But after 1 year, my peace was interrupted by an accident at home, and I spent 8 endless months in hospital. And on the 30th of January last year, I left the hospital, but I had to wear these prostheses, and I every so often have to use a wheelchair. I don't like it, but I have to take it, and I have to accept it. And obviously I couldn't go back to my flat, but I knew that even I could go back to the hospital, but I didn't want to go back to the prison. I remember one evening I was in hospital, and I was told that I could not go back to the flat because I was told you're a dangerous individual, you're reckless, as if I were a Tomb Raider. That wasn't the usual phone call. You cannot do something. You're unable. And this time it meant you can. And this project, we have a project for you. It is an ad hoc project. It is called Sonia's Home. And today I keep writing about my journey. And if I'm here today and I have reached this phase, I want to thank myself. I thank God that has given me the strength to move on. And I would like to mention Caterina and Dr. Iliana, who have always believed in me. And I would like to thank Vito as well, whom I met casually during my first job, and I realized that he was the son of the person who had knocked me down. The father who, to protect his son, had really broken my wings. I would like to thank Vito because I understood, and I know that you're here. I couldn't walk, so I know that you're here. And who am I? Why can't I be as happy as all the others and experience all this?